Welcome back to the Circuito de Jerez here in Andalusia. You can see the fans have had a great time this weekend. We've had a great time as well. That was the pit lane queue this morning. My goodness me, was it busy. Couldn't move for people in the pit lane this morning. Unfortunately, myself and Frank came out into the pit lane earlier on today in the 658 Squadron Corsa team, just as everybody was getting their photos.
Yes, definitely. I think they were quite excited. Thought it was going to be a rider. Quite disappointed thereafter.
They must have thought we were celebrities or something like that.
Definitely. Obviously, we're dressed to impress.
Exactly.
To sit in this box and commentate. So.
I know, I've not done my makeup or anything today. 15 laps for the European Talent Cup here at Jerez. 4.423 kilometres, 5 left-hand turns and 8 right. It's not changed all day, funnily enough. So we're looking forward to the final race of the afternoon. Still very hot out there. I stepped outside of the commentary box just a few moments ago, and it's pretty warm, is the way I would describe it. And I was saying, as you were sprinting your way down to the podium, Fran Wild, that if we get a race that's half as good as Moto3 was, European Talent Cup, we're in for a treat. Definitely,
or even a race half as good as my trip to the podium.
Was that as good?
It was thrilling. Lots of traffic. No, yeah, as you say, sadly not. That's the one thing I could have done with. But no, as you say, it's pretty hot now. Nice and warm outside. Now we're into the heat of the afternoon. And yeah, I think these guys now, we've hopefully had our drama for the day. We shall see. But not to give away exactly what's happened, but we certainly had a dramatic end to the Moto3 race.
Well, we certainly did. And with the man who took the podium last time out, second place of course in Moto3. It's his brother that starts on pole position, the younger Perez, Andreas Perez, who will start at the front of the grid for the second race. A brilliant race it was for him as well, for the number 77, and the Perez family are doing really good stuff this year, which is great to see. And alongside him will be Miguel Parra and Pietro Peverline, who will run you through the grid as the riders are now on their sighting laps. It's going to, of course, run to the grid. They'll complete their sighting lap, and then we'll end up with them on the grid, do the warm-up lap, and then we'll go into the 15-lap race on the Honda NSF 250R machines. I'm very, very excited for this one. It's always a good race, European Talent Cup, and young and upcoming riders as well. Good shop window, busy end of the season. It's
really great, you know, obviously first season, and I think it's a great success. It's like World Supersport 300, that's also new, and just both giving great racing, great opportunities, and super accessible for these guys. So I think it's been a big success. So now they're heading around for their first challenge, which is to get to their grid spots through the people.
Indeed.
Always a packed grid with not quite as many bikes as the Moto3 field. So a little bit less distance to get through, but
29's a fair whack, though. Let's be honest.
It's a fair few, but it's not 44.
No, this is, well, funnily enough, it's 15 less.
In fact, despite my struggles with the timing screen earlier, I can in fact count. So yes, it is less. Well, it is less.
Also, no, you've got the A level. I haven't. So
just the one.
Yeah, well, those who can do, those who can't talk about it. So that's where I come in.
Indeed.
Something like that. So Andreas Perez coming now to the grid, the Realia Vintia Academy team. They've riding on a wave of confidence and smiles, I'm sure, is probably what's going to be getting them through this race. Smile power more than anything, as Andreas Perez goes to his pole position grid slot.
Sounds like a fantastic American tagline, that.
It does, yes. They're going to be doing many smiles an hour.
Smiles an hour? Oh, jeez, that's not great. I even G'd it with the American.
I know.
Yeah, no. Smiles an hour, I think we should leave that one and move on quite swiftly.
Yeah, I think you're quite right. Isn't he taking tips from Dakota? That's the sort of... Oh, dearie me. Well, Andreas Perez back down to earth with an Englishism as well. I
was going to say, you really brought it back to the British there.
Well, the race victory for Andreas Perez last time out in the race one at Jerez. What a great result it was for him. You can see a couple of DNFs for him in Estoril and one, of course, in Albacete as well. 2 wins, 3 podiums, 1 pole position, and, of course, includes this one as well, which is a brilliant starting position for the Spanish rider. He is going to be looking to try and get himself on the top step of the podium for the second time in as many races, but he'll have some stiff competition from behind, none least in the form of this man, Miguel Parra. It was a difficult race one for the Blue Mac HMA team. He got unfortunately involved in a bit of contact with his teammate, his brand new teammate for this weekend, Carlos Tate. 1 podium, so far this season. A 4th place in Jerez. It could have been so much more for him, though. He did lose out a bit of time with that incident with his teammate. 15 years of age, though, is Miguel Parra. And having a good, solid first season as well, which is always important. Of course, some riders will be moving up to Moto 3, you would imagine, next year. Not all of them will be there. They'll be staying perhaps in the European Talent Cup for a second continuous season. Here's a man that's doing quite well as well. Pieter Pavelainen with the Louis Salom sticker on his front mudguard. Great result for the Finnish rider on the podium in the first race. 3rd position for him, 11th in the championship and 37 points. He'll be looking to do very well so far and continue his good form this season. Part of the IO Academy, as you can see there, with the badge on his leathers on the left-hand side as well. So he's got some good connections in the form of the likes of Aki Ayo, who runs the Rebel KTM IO squad, and also Moto 3 and Moto 2. So it's very exciting to see where Pieter, who of course has got some good Finnish heritage, will end up potentially in a few years' time as well.
Yeah, it's super exciting for these guys as well. Like, he obviously knows that he's going to have a World Championship race in his country sometime pretty soon. So it's a big incentive, you know, if he wants to race on home soil and that, to really make the best of this and push forward and make those steps.
Francisco Gmez, 1 podium in Estoril this season, 7th and an 8th place finish in the last 2 rounds. So keep an eye out for him in this race as well. He's going to be looking to try and get himself inside the top 5, at least, potentially even into the podium battle also. But this man will be having something to say about it too. It's Maikon Kawakami, the Brazilian rider who races under the Japanese rider who races under a Brazilian license, and he's had a good season so far. 1 DNF and some good finishes. A podium finish, of course, in Estoril. He came so close to taking that victory in the first race ever of the European Talent Cup in Albacete, but it all went pear-shaped for him at the final corner in race number 2. You can see the grid not quite as packed as it was in Moto 3, but nonetheless it was still very busy. It still is very busy, of course. It's going to be a good, fun race, a good way to conclude the day's worth of action, and the Team Honda Impala outfit will be hoping and praying for a good result here this afternoon in the form of Alejandro Diez. He was an unfortunate victim in an incident with Johan Uvina in race number 1 as they went down into dry sack. He ended up making contact with Johan Uvina and unfortunately ended up crashing going down the road, and he was inconsolable after that. He was furiously having a bit of a paddy in the gravel trap, and with a bit of luck, he'll be in good form for race number 2. And he lines up, of course, on the 2nd row of the grid. But just in front, or just behind him, in terms of the number of rows, the 3rd row of the grid, that will be headed by Manuel Gonzalez, the championship leader. And, of course, at this stage in the race, or the stage in the championship, rather, it's all to play for. The number 18, there he is. 15 years of age, 1 win, 5 podiums this season. He's been very consistent, as you can see, 106 points in the title and finished 7th in Jerez, and just, again, kept his nose clean, got the points. And always good to see Manuel Gonzalez doing so well. Just behind Manuel is Johan Uvina also, and as we said, that incident with himself and Alejandro Diez in the first race really did put pay to Johan Uvina in that race number 1. But nonetheless, still plenty of time to redeem himself. There he is on the grid, as you can see. Some team members by his side. 16 years old he is, 10th in the championship. Only finished 9th in that last race. Big shame for the Spanish rider. He's had a couple of DNFs so far this season. A couple of interesting results. Just needs to get that consistency under his belt, which we've alluded to so much this afternoon, is so important in order to get yourself involved with the championship charge. Looking towards the latter half of the top 10 as well. We'll see in a couple of moments. We'll see Edouard Melgar. He's not had a bad season as Edouard Melgar. Let's have a look at the rider with the Grupo Mercado Kame team. There he is, already with his helmet on, giving a wave to the camera as well, and full gas, I'm sure. 1 win, 1 podium, and some good results as of late. Finished 10th in the last race in race number 1 in Jerez. And he lines up, of course, in 9th position on the grid. Of course, they're all racing these same motorcycles, the Honda's NSF 250R machines. Just all running different liveries. There's Carlos Tate. And keep an eye out for him. He was, again, an unfortunate DNF in race number 1 after getting caught up at the final corner. And as you can see, he's had no positions on the board. That's because he he's making his debut in the championship this weekend. So not doing too bad of a job. Just had the tyre allocation through their front. Of course, they're only allowed to run the medium compound, so of course they're all running mediums on front and rear here in the European Talent Cup. It's a good money-saving idea. But here's a man who really did do well in the last race. Alex Toledo, second position in the first one. A really good result for him. Yeah,
definitely. I think he'll be one of the key guys who knows now he can do it. And especially at this track, and go out there and really try and move forward again and get in that fight at the front.
Yeah, he's really going to be looking forward to doing that. We can see the grid packed. There is Simon Jesperson. Keep an eye out for him. Very quick in the latter half of the race.
Yeah, he made fantastic progress in the first race. Then, unfortunately, at the end, just didn't quite get that killer instinct dialed in the last few laps to get that podium, but close. So we'll have to see if he's picked up on what he did wrong in the first race, maybe looked at few different tactics to try this time around if he can move forward to that battle.
Yeah, he's really going to be trying to do that. Meanwhile, as we look to the next row of the grid, Mathieu Goryeo, the French rider, 16 years old he is again, but not a bad season. A few points finishes here and there, 14th in the championship with 24 points. A good top 10 finish in the opening round in Albacete as well. So
yeah, it's encouraging for those guys as well when there's a string of numbers and no missing finishes there. So, you know, he's got that sorted. But just, yeah, need to move up in the points if he can. That'll be his target again. Just try and knock on the door to that top 10.
Let's have a look. There was a message to Anna Carrasco there. It said congratulations to Anna Carrasco.
Yes, she's just won the World Supersport 300 race, I believe, in Portimao, becoming the first woman to win a World Championship race.
Oh, wonderful. Well, that's really good news. She was on pole position, first woman to get pole position in the Supersport 300 class, so that's great to see. Sorry if we've spoiled the result for you. If you've
indeed, although I feel that was slightly done for us. It needs a little explanation.
Well, we don't know because we're busy doing this.
I did actually find out there. One of our colleagues at Superbike let me know that what's happened. A bit of girl power there behind the scenes from us, but great news for her certainly.
Indeed, Stefano Cristin, 16th position. He is 15th position on the grid, I should say, rather, 20th in the championship. Again, he's had a couple of points, 6 points so far this year, and we'll be hoping for better later on this year. We'll have to wait and see whether that comes to fruition. So that's then the grid, at least the top 16 of them in the final race of the European Talent Cup. And you can see the fans watching on. They seem pretty happy to be here as well. And why wouldn't you be? There's music blaring out in the PA system, and there's some great motorcycle racing to watch. Here is how the grid looks, though. Andreas Perez, Miguel Parra, and Pietro Pevolainen are on the front row of the grid. Francisco Gmez, Maikon Kawakami, and Alejandro Diez are on row 2. And row number 3 is Manuel Gonzalez, Joan Uvina, and Eduard Melgar. So a brilliant plethora of Spaniards in their home round. 7 inside the top 9 positions. Row number 4, Carlos Tate, hoping for a finish this time around with Alex Toledo and Simon Jesperson alongside him. Keep an eye out for Jesperson, notoriously quick at the end of the race. Mathieu Goryeo, Andres Vostatek and Stefano Cristin. Row number 6, Jamie Davis, who had some problems in race number 1. Adrian Fernandez and then Ferdinand Fernandez. And then row number 7, Luis Verdugo, then comes Aurel Nibelak, Lewis Venderborn, then it's row 8, it's Colin Feldhazen, Vincent Falcone, Beatrice Neela, row number 9, Ike Garcia, row number 10, completing the grid, Jose Suarez and Jack Hart, the British rider, including the 29-rider strong grid as we get ready to get the warm-up lap underway very, very shortly here at the Circuito de Jerez. They're just clearing the grid now. The final time this afternoon, and then we'll be ready to go racing, which will be one exciting way to spend the afternoon. There's some problems with Colin Feldhazen there, having some issues getting the motorcycle started. He might have to go to pit lane. No, they've got it going, so that's fortunate, and he'll be able to make the warm-up lap, which is very important.
Yeah, definitely. We've seen a few guys have some problems on the start today, so it's good to avoid that again for the final race of the day.
Indeed, the riders now move away from their grid slots, heading off on their formation lap to get some heat into the tyres and brakes. It's quite warm here anyway, but of course they need to get them all up to operating temperature. Going through the first corner as well, and we saw some exciting racing in the first one for European Talent Cup earlier on this morning. What are you predicting for this afternoon?
I don't know. I think it could be a similar story, but then as we've seen in Moto3, 2 very different races. So I think we'll have to wait and see, but I think again there's going to be similar names at the top, and I think Perez will be pretty keen to try and do the double.
Well, exactly. So the riders then just going through into Cito Pond's corner and coming down the hill.
Yeah, I think I think Jesperson could be interesting in this one. Like I said, made such good progress to get up there, and then just didn't seem to quite be able to pounce on those final couple of laps and final few corners. So he'll be an interesting one as well. Obviously, with a lot at stake in the standings as well. So it's beautiful weather. And Jerez is always beautiful, even in the rain.
It certainly is.
Especially a day like today, it's just a great day to go racing. You see, even though, you know, mid-September, certainly where we're from, that would probably be a very different story.
It certainly would be. It is a different story at the moment.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, Andalusia is still absolutely glorious. So it should make for another fantastic race. And obviously it should be a bit hotter than the race this morning for these guys.
Yeah, exactly. Which is going to be interesting for tyre longevity as well, especially they're all, as we say, on the in the same boat, on the medium compound of tyre. So through the right-hander we go, Ferrari, then into Lorenzo. This is where, of course, we saw fireworks in the Moto3 race just a few minutes ago. We won't spoil the result for you if you haven't watched it, but nonetheless, if you haven't watched it, I would highly recommend it. That final lap was incident-packed.
Definitely incident-packed is a very nice way to put it. I think that will be one of the
crashes.
It will be one of the big moments of the season. I think one of the key talking points come the end of the year. But yeah, certainly, and seemed to just suddenly pounce out of nowhere. So yeah, well, I don't know how these guys will fare. Hopefully, they've seen that and they'll warn against it a little bit. But maybe they won't be warned against it and they'll just go into there and just hit the limit. We'll see. Well,
the riders now on the grid. There's Vicente Perez with Miguel Parra and Pieter Pervalainen alongside him. Just final preparations taking place. Wait for the green flag to be waved at the back, which it is so now. The red flag goes away at the front, and we get ready to get those 4 red lights. Look to the top left corner of your screen. They're holding them for a very long time, but the red lights come on. And want to go away and go racing for the final time here today in Jerez. Good start from Francisco Gmez off the second row of the grid. He looks like he's pounced, as does Miguel Parra on the first row. Here we go into the first corner. Who's going to lead the way? Parra holds the lead from Gmez, and Pieter Pervalainen holding on to 3rd position so far. So a good start from all involved. Nice clean getaway from everybody involved. However, Perez has been swallowed up by the pack. Bit of contact as well there as Simon Jesperson got sat up mid-corner. But everybody making a very clean start through the opening couple of turns. And nonetheless, it is still Gmez that looks like he's going to be very menacing in this race. And now he is leading the way.
Yeah, so a bit of a shuffle through there, but nothing too drastic. Everyone through pretty cleanly. And yeah, I think it was Perez got a little bit bogged down off the line, but it's not seemed to have cost him too much. So it's still like up there in the front group. So hopefully he'll be able to regroup pretty quickly.
Certainly is. Hard on the race we go. Pervalainen having to defend by the listings from Alejandro Diez, who's made his way up into 4th position. So a good start as well from Alejandro Diez. He started in 6th place on the grid. He'll be looking to make amends after what was a very difficult first race for the Spanish rider. Ended up unfortunately not finishing, going down the road at Drysack. Meanwhile, there is one of the Came Mercado machines. The form of Eduard Melgar, who's a bit further down the pack than we might expect, actually. Giovanni Vigna, who's on the other machine as well, he's having a good run so far this season. And the interest, sorry, Fernando Hernandez, I apologise, actually a bit further down the order. It is Eduard Melgar who's inside the top 10. It's Giovanni Vigna who's got a very similar livery on his motorcycle, which makes it look like he's part of the same team, but that's certainly not the case.
I think Jesperson will be pretty happy with his start as well. He's straight up into 6th. So he'll be, yeah, honing in on that front group again and looking to not make amends, because it was a really good finish this morning, but just polish it off.
Well, Pieter Pervalainen got his way up into 2nd place into the final corner, now ahead of the number 26 Miguel Parra, and also Parra looking like he was coming under serious threat from Alejandro Diez right behind. This is getting a bit tasty as well already for the top 4. Giovanni Vigna, meanwhile, doing his best to defend from Simon Jesperson into turn 2 with Manuel Gonzalez, the championship leader, quite close behind. It's interesting for Gonzalez, isn't it, as well? He was so dominant in the early stages of the race. Meanwhile, that's Andreas Perez into the pit lane. So the poleman, unfortunately, looks like he's not going to make the finish in this race. We don't think he's gone down the road. We didn't see it on camera. Certainly, if he did, However,
yeah, he was. I think he was 6th or 7th in that pack with Jesperson Gonzalez. So something must have happened to him.
It could have been a technical problem. He could have been clipped by another rider. It could be a bent handlebar for all we know. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But a big shame there for the Spanish rider. It's 0 to 0, unfortunately, in this race.
Yeah, he'll be pretty disappointed with that because he was certainly pretty elated with this morning. It's always, I feel, for the guys who win the first race and then have
shockers.
Yeah, have a bad second race or something happens or whatever, because I think it's just leaves you with the wrong taste in your mouth after such a fantastic first race.
It certainly does. I have to say, I'm intrigued by what's happened to Manuel Gonzalez. Yeah, he's fighting inside the top 10, but he hasn't had the front-running pace that we've seen from him for the last couple of weekends.
No, I think it's quite surprising, like qualifying and then also to have not immediately moved up. Like, he's not done a fudger. Maybe as
it's called doing a Dennis from now on.
Indeed, gone are the Pedrosa and Lorenzo examples. It's now Fodger.
And that's Iker Garcia as well. So that's both Reale Avintia Academy bikes out within the first lap. A technical problem for the young Spaniard.
That's such a shame for that team after they've just taken such great results in other categories today. So big shame for them. Yeah,
from elation to sadness, unfortunately. But nonetheless, there's another round coming up. So time to regroup. It's interesting as well. We might see a few of these guys making appearances elsewhere in and amongst motorcycle racing between now and then. It often happens. We get riders, of course, competing in different championship. Meanwhile, Joe Nuvina, who's in 4th place, taps on his rear fairing and says to Miguel Parra, just follow me for a moment. You might end up catching the guys in front. Manuel Gonzalez also.
I always love these moments, especially. I think Massio even did it when he was in the World Championship riding for Binder. Oh, very unhappy.
Andreas Perez, he doesn't want to be talked to, does he?
Nah, but yeah, I think Massio even did it, and you've just got to admire the confidence of the kid, you know, when he's in there for the first time and he's like, guys, I've got the pace, let's go.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but obviously in this case you can see Uvinia's really closing in on those guys, so he really does have the pace to bring them back in.
I'm very impressed with Alejandro Diaz as well. Started 6th on the grid, did the Spaniard, and has made his way up into 2nd position at the middle of this race, doing a good job so far actually as well. We're just 2 laps in so at the moment. It could all change between now and then, but Francisco Gmez, he's not really had any threats from behind as well. That could be all set to change in terms of the lap times though. We'll have to wait and see, as somebody going out well wide there was Alejandro Diaz. He wider and he might need a ticket to get back in from that part of the track.
Yeah, I was just about to say how it's all very calm at the front and everyone's racing in line and
famous last words, that, isn't it?
Yeah, apparently not. I've really seemed to have done that a lot. I think it's not necessarily what I've been saying today that's been cursing them, more what I've been thinking.
That's all right. At least you haven't said the same thing 300 times over.
Anything can happen.
Yeah, thank you. Moving on. Into Lorenzo we go. Hard on the brakes as Manuel Gonzalez looks to try and dart it up the inside of Joe Nuvina.
I think that would have been a bit ambitious there.
Slightly, especially at this stage in the race. Just a couple of laps in. You don't want to be putting all your eggs in one basket, as the saying goes, as we go on to start lap number 3. Gmez now ahead of Diaz with Pevelainen close behind. Joe Nuvina is in 4th place. Manuel Gonzalez and Miguel Parra also in amongst the mix. There's a great leading group actually as well, isn't there? That's emerging of about all the way down to Michael Kawakami, so that's 9th place. Yeah,
there's a pretty solid group kind of emerging at the front, and they've all got pretty similar lap times. There's a few just dipping into the 152s. In fact, in the front group, that was actually only Parra that time around. In Toledo as well, but yeah, there's some good pace. They're all fairly consistently similar, so we'll have to see if anyone can make a big difference.
Well, there's a man in 4th place, Joe Nuvina, who was the fastest last time around, a 1 minute 51.558 for the number 23, doing a good job. Meanwhile, here comes Pietro Pevelainen as Alejandro Diaz hits the front. Francisco Gmez tries to hold the line around the outside. Will he manage to do that? No, I don't think he will. Pevelainen's got a good line and he's got a good exit, but corner position, the track position rather, belonged to Gmez into the next left-hander. So Pevelainen holds on to 3rd position so far, but Alejandro Diaz, the new leader in the European Talent Cup race number 2, and Gonzalez getting all over the curve in 5th position. As going a bit deep into that corner goes Alejandro Diaz. He's going to lose a plethora of places going through that right-hander.
Yeah, that was costly in terms of position, but not so much in terms of speed. He's got it straight under control, back in the pack and ready to re-attack. I think a little bit cheeky, but you know, not too bad.
Doing all right as it happens. Brilliant stuff here in the European Talent Cup. We go into the left-hander, the final turn here at the Circuito de Jerez. 12 laps remaining, soon to become 11. We get ready to come over the timing line. as Francisco Gmez now leads the way once again. So Alejandro Diez's lead was short-lived, but Tate Pervalainen's trying to put pay to that. We go into turn one. Will he have run it too hot? Looks like he's got it round the inside, but on the outside, he's not counting out the number 9 of Gmez. We go hard on the brakes, and Joan Uvina tries to enter the party as well into turn number 2. Again, all lining astern, they're doing great stuff, great racing, and also, as well, the man who I had not necessarily written off at the start of this race, but was concerned about his front-running pace in 4th position, Manuel Gonzalez, making some really good inroads in this race. And I think it's interesting to see how Gonzalez has progressed over the course of the last couple of races, because you could see that it could just be something from race 1 to race 2. They've just changed the setting on his bike, and that's it.
Yeah, I think it's always interesting to see how these things play out, especially when you've been consistently in front and then when you're suddenly not on the front row or a little bit further back. But he's certainly back in contention now, and Jesperson as well. Look like these front guys have just made a bit of a gap, but it's not too much. And again, already it's starting to close in again. So we'll have to see how that changes maybe on the straight.
Doing a great job they are. Meanwhile, into the left-hander, into the second left-hander, I should say, rather, of turn number 8 of Aspar, then into turn number 9. Joan Uvina just losing a few places there. Simon Jesperson's coming into play now as well. We mentioned this, of course, doesn't necessarily start as strongly as perhaps I think he would like to, but in the middle to latter half of the race, this is where Jesperson really does become very strong indeed. Up the inside, though, goes Gmez for the lead on Pervalainen. That's very nicely done. 2 bikes through there isn't too much of a problem, as it turns out. Through Ferrari, though, I wouldn't want to be the man that has to do that. Hard on the brakes into the corner we go. Here comes Gonzalez, 2 positions in 1 corner. Thank you very much. Goes the Goryeo racing rider, and he is now into the lead of the race. But can he do anything with it, or will he get mugged, rather, I should say, into the first corner?
Smug as well, you never know. Jesperson was pretty wide there coming onto the main straight as well. Just everyone getting a little bit shuffled around there with that move as well. But I think Diez and Diez has really closed back in on those guys.
Second place now being held onto by Gmez in the lead of the race, though it is Tate Pervalainen. Gonzalez in 3rd place. Uvina is still in P number 4. He's doing a good job, Uvina, as well, to really stay with this leading group. Mind you, the likes of the riders behind are all doing superb jobs. Meanwhile, Alejandro Diez, how well wide there. We've
big moment there, a bit of a rodeo.
It was sim podium penalties, rather, I should say, been implied in Moto 2. So
I think that one is demonstrably definitely not to his advantage there that time. But yeah, definitely they have to be careful about track limits. It's a big theme of a lot of seasons in all championships this year. That's quite tight. But yeah, I think that one is an obvious mistake. Not trying to gain any real advantage there, just trying to stay on the bike.
Yes, indeed. Into the left we go. The Grupo Mercado Kame machine of Joan Uvina doing a superlative job, as we said, in 4th position, I should say, really trying to get himself onto the podium, and it's anybody's guess who's going to end up there at the moment. This group runs all the way back to Alex Toledo, as you can see there, with the Cuna de Campeones outfits. Some great racing going on in the European Talent Cup. All on the same machines, all exactly equal, so it all comes down to rider ability as well. There is Simon Jesperson, 5th position for him. Qualified in 12th place, so he's made up over half of his positions that he started up on the grid. He's looking to try and find his way around the outside of Joan Uvina, but Pervalainen, meanwhile, tries to get ahead of Gonzalez. No way through at the moment, but as we come over to start the next lap and we go into single lap figures, it is still going to be Gmez that leads the way at this stage of the race. And of course, Gmez has taken 1 victory so far this year. He'd dearly like to do another one, but it's not going to be easy with the likes of Pervalainen, who's harrying for his first win, and Gonzalez, who's harrying for another win this season. Let's wait and see what happens. Into turn number 2 we go. Through the left. Some stunning racing going on here in the European Talent Cup. Brilliant stuff. The top 4 just looking like they're making a bit of a gap to Jesperson now, but Jesperson again closing up, and the lap times he was setting were a 1/10 of a second or so quicker, as Gonzalez has a bit of a sneaky look. Oh, and that's Jack Hart that's gone down. Big shame there for the Scottish rider. His day unfortunately ending in the gravel trap. The good thing is that he's up and okay, fortunately, and we'll wish him better luck for next time for Jack. Meanwhile, City comes into effect once again. Hard on the brakes and into dry sag. Bit of a wobble under the front end for Tate Pervalainen in 2nd place. Meanwhile, Gmez rather, I should say, out well wide, but manages to gather it up on corner exit. And Uvina's coming into the party now as well in this battle for 1st position. The lead of the race could be getting very, very tense, even in the mid stages of this race. Through the left we go.
Yeah, they've all really closed up again now, as you can see, haven't they? It's yeah, it's got pretty close again at the front there. I mean, fastest over the line, there's a succession of people beating each other there over the line. Melgar was fastest first, then Tate, and then Toledo. So, yeah, I mean, lap time's incredibly similar even within the group. Sort of mid 152s, low 152s for a couple of people. So it's just amazing. Obviously, they're the same bikes, but all, you know, with all the moves and everything else, it's always a great show.
Certainly is. Over the timing line we go. Once again, that slipstream certainly coming into effect now. Here we go.
See those guys staying over there and
who's going to blink first, isn't it?
Across, yeah.
So it's Pirtti Pevalainen who takes the lead away from Francisco Gmez into the first corner, and Uvinia, Gonzalez, Jesperson and Kawakami also coming into the party as well. Through the left-hander we go. They're all lining us up. They're all riding very cleanly at the moment. There's nothing too brash, too aggressive going on. We saw that, of course, in the last race in Moto 3. It got very feisty towards the latter half of this race. It could happen here, but they're all playing it very safe so far. There's a few overtakes going on, but nothing out of the ordinary.
No, nothing too crazy. Obviously, at the moment, they'll more be trying to suss it out and make sure they stay in contention. And, you know, 7.5 laps to go, or over 7 laps to go. It's quite some time.
Oh,
it's
no.
a shame for Alex Toledo. Like I said, I think he was fastest man over the line last time.
Yeah, he's unfortunately stopped on track, or he's gone down the road. Looks like there were some scuffs to his leathers, so it could well be a crash for the Circuito de Campeones team, who have had what can only be described as a bad end to the day.
Indeed, yes.
We won't spoil anything, but yes, anyway, getting back to the racing.
A safe end to the day, but not the most enjoyable one.
Exactly, yeah.
Team, yeah, certainly. It's just bad luck, isn't it, in some cases. But they'll be back on track at Aragon.
They certainly will.
World Championship.
They certainly will. We're looking forward to that, actually, seeing the Circuito de Campeones team with Jaume Masia, who's going to be wildcarding for them. Of course, has made some brilliant appearances in the Moto 3 World Championship so far this year, doing a really good job.
Yeah, hopefully we'll have Brad, well, we will still have Brad Binder. Hopefully we'll have Darren Binder back on track for the that Platinum Bay real estate team. Because, yeah, both the Binders this year had some injury troubles, so it'd be good to see both back on their respective grids again. But Masia, yeah, obviously grabbed headlines straight away as soon as he appeared. So it'd be great to see what he can do as well within his own team.
Certainly would do. Hard on the brakes we go into turn number 2. Around the outside tries Jesperson. On the inside of him, though, is Uvinia, but he gets the move done. Will he manage to keep track position into turn number 4? Looks like he's just got the advantage at the moment, does the Danish rider. Brilliant stuff. I love watching Simon Jesperson. His riding style is absolutely wonderful. And likewise, the likes of Gmez and Pevalainen in front of him as well. Into turn number 5 of Sito Pons we go. Very close. Bit wide there for the leader as well. Pevalainen just using a bit more track than some others, perhaps running a bit more corner speed through there to try and catapult himself on exit. He's going to be a bit defensive with the likes of the slipstream, or they're in lack of. And you can see that as well as he loses 1 position, make that nearly 2. As Kawakami goes up the inside, he goes from 5th into 3rd place in the space of 1 corner. Brilliant result there for the Brazilian.
Yeah, definitely, again, not shy in coming forward sometimes, with spectacular results.
Exactly. I have to say, it's a fantastic livery on that that PlayStation Leglise bike. I have to think it's wonderful.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of those little classics, isn't it? Super bright as well, easy to spot. But yeah, it's just yeah, he certainly makes the most of it. Flash of colour and flash of activity every time. Absolutely.
All a bit wide there for Johan Uvinia as well. He's in 5th place at the moment. Is the Spanish rider. 4th place, I apologise, but. No, in fact, it was in 5th. I was right first time. I corrected myself incorrectly. There's a thing. Hard on the brakes we go into Lorenzo. Kawakami up the inside of Pevalainen. Brilliant stuff from the Brazilian rider. Jesperson coming into play as well. This is going to get very tasty as we come on to the 8th lap out of 15.
Yeah, Jesperson must be looking at that thinking, please, I'm on the outside. Please remain calm and in your seat. Yes. But... it's starting to get a little bit more movement now as we're counting down the laps. But Gmez, again, consistently been at the front, and Pevalainen as well. Just showing, you know, they've not been shuffled back. And Uvinia had a couple of moments here and there. but certainly shows great pace, and I think it's going to be interesting to see as well Jesperson, what he does later on, and Gonzalez, who's been a bit quiet for a few laps now, but still very much in there.
Yeah, it's interesting with Gonzalez as well. He hit the front, didn't he? And then he immediately lost the lead into the next corner. And not entirely sure what it is. Maybe it's just bike setup, or something's not working, or perhaps he's just not a big fan of the track. It could be a multiple number of reasons as the lead inevitably changes into dry sack once more. Gmez into the lead, Pervalainen into third as Kawakami holds it around the outside. That was a brilliant move there from the Brazilian. Really good stuff. Fantastic. And now it's Uvinha into third position. Our timing screen's on AWOL here in the commentary box, so we'll have to call it as we see it. Meanwhile, Pervalainen up the inside of Uvinha into turn number 8. And then the right-hander of turn 9 awaits. Angel Nieto corner.
3 wide almost, 3 wide. It's getting a little bit ambitious now.
It is. It's coming into that all-important stages of the race, isn't it? And, of course, they're all on the same bikes. It comes down to rider ability, and this is where we're going to separate, if you'll pardon the expression, the men from the boys.
Well, maybe, although Anna Carrasco just won her first World Championship race. It's
Absolutely.
Not a day for it.
There you go.
No, it's also great to see these guys, as you said before, they're riding pretty cleanly, but the track limits in this class has very much been a case of obvious mistakes and wobbles and then back in there. So that's really good, I think. Ooh, getting pretty close there over the line, pretty close to the grass.
And somebody who benefits from that is a man who was right behind Jesperson and Gonzalez. That's Carlos Tate, who didn't finish the race. Oh, big moment there for Pervalainen on the front. He tucked the front end there, didn't he?
He looked like he caught it going in, and then just, lucky to keep that under control.
Yeah, lucky to hold on to it. Brilliant stuff. I have to say, it's so interesting watching the difference in riding styles between these Honda NSF bikes and the Moto3 bikes as well. The riding styles, they don't hang off as much. They don't get the elbow down on these bikes, whereas in Moto3, it's all about getting the elbow down, carrying that momentum, carrying that speed. As we go with Melgar, who's up the inside of Pervalainen. Manages to make it stick, but we were closing our eyes and wincing a bit there, I think. Here's Pervalainen. Oh, it was on the rear, actually, on the way into the corner, didn't it? And then, just for added measure, a bobble on the front.
Just thought he got it collected. Not quite, but that's fairly costly now. He's going to have to go on a bit of a charge to get back where he was, certainly. But I don't know. I mean, he looks like he's had the speed as well. Let's just see how that affects him, knowing that he was pretty close there. And saw Jesperson there as well.
Sat out by Carlos Tate, wasn't he? Getting a bit aggressive now with the Spanish rider. As we said, trying to make amends for that DNF in race number 1. And he's in a prime position to do that now. We're coming on to the business end of the race, if you like. Now we're just, next time over the line, there'll be 4 laps to go. Then, of course, we'll come into the last few laps of racing, which is where it's going to get very, very interesting indeed. And we'll start seeing the aggression coming out of the riders. At the moment, it's still Francisco Gmez from Joan Uvinha who leads the way. Then Manuel Gonzalez in 3rd place, but that's going to change surely as we come into the final corner. As I thought Carlos Tate was going to do exactly what he did in race number 1 then. Managed to hold it on and didn't make a bit of a mess of that, fortunately.
Yeah, Uvinha's got good pace here, I think. And he's obviously feeling confident. After all, he did tell everyone to follow him earlier, so he's obviously feeling pretty good about it. But yeah, I think Gonzalez as well, pretty stealthy coming through there. Nothing too aggressive or ambitious, but really right up there in contention now. And you can see these sort of 5-6 guys are starting to make a bit of a gap.
Pervalainen had a shocker at that first corner. Unfortunately, he went out very wide and is now back in and amongst the group involving the likes of Eduard Melgar, Miguel Parra and Alejandro Diez. Unfortunately, he's down in the lower half of the top 10. But this battle for the top position in this race going down to the wire with Joan Uvinha, Francisco Gmez and all the other riders that are involved, as we've mentioned throughout the course of the race. Nearly getting on for 4 wide into dry sack. Who's going to be the rider that takes the advantage? Carlos Tate tries it up the inside. He's into 2nd place, but leading the way still Francisco Gmez. Gmez holding the advantage on the number 9, doing a good job at the moment, but he's going to have some stiff competition from behind. It's going to be a very hard ride from here on in. Into the left-hander of turn number 6 we go. Gmez with the advantage at the moment, but here comes Tate. Will he find a way through on the outside? No, it's going to be the inside line that will be the most beneficial as Joan Uvinha gets the position into 2nd place. But now Gonzalez is
a bit of a moment there for Melgar.
That was, yeah, that was in the lower half of the top 10, and he's going to have some work to do from here on in, Ismail Gar, isn't he? Again, another rider that I thought would be further up the grid than we've seen throughout this race. Just seems to be struggling a little bit, but Gonzalez has come on form a little bit in the latter half of this race. Bit of argy-bargy with himself and Tate. You can't say Tate's not spirited, can you?
Definitely not. I think, yeah, they're really starting to get their teeth out now, aren't they, as we're getting towards the end of the race. But it's, again, those guys, they're not so far back, especially with so many passes happening at the front and, you know, people getting sat up, people getting a little bit wide, a few wobbles. It could really concertina again. It sounds like, oh, there's only 2.5 laps to go, but for these guys, it's a fairly long lap.
Feels like
exciting racing, but in terms of the time, it's still quite a while in this race. And obviously, yeah, equal machinery.
Which makes life difficult as well in terms of trying to find the way past, because it just does come down to how hard you push.
It can do, or how hard you, or how much you don't push over the limit, possibly in some cases. But
some great stuff going. Carlos Tate there in second place as well. He's doing good, isn't he? The boy's done good for his first ever weekend in the European Talent Cup, but that's all about to change. João Uvinha into the lead, Francisco Gmez into second, Tate runs it a bit wide, and Gonzalez goes up the inside. Gonzalez is going to go from third into second. Looked like he was going to try and take the lead away from Gmez there, but didn't quite manage to make it stick. Meanwhile, all going on behind as well. It's hard to notice what to call because there's so much going on.
I think Gmez has been really in there the whole race, and I think Gonzalez looks pretty solid. I mean, when you've made your way to the front of a race without really making too many headlines about it, you know you've done it pretty solidly. I think he's probably going to be feeling pretty good about this. But Gmez, yeah, just again, solid right in there, and then Uvinha obviously has shown he's got the pace to stay at the front. Jesperson, again, are we waiting for a move, or is this what he has? We'll have to
wait and find out. Here's Kawakami. He's thinking about a move, and he's going to do a move as well. I thought that was going to be very close between himself and Gonzalez. The voice inflections are going absolutely nuts here in the commentary box.
I think it's so much harder as well on TV, and the camera angles you get.
Yeah.
You kind of left with that moment of suspense. Someone starts moving, it's like, ah.
What's going to happen?
It's actually okay. And then sometimes, obviously, there's high drama. So, but you can see a bit of a gap there again, but they've closed in so quickly. It's incredible how quickly these bikes concertina.
Just wondering as well, where's Miguel Parra? He's in 8th place at the moment. He was right up at the sharp end at the start of this race, but this sort of faded towards the latter half, hasn't he?
Yeah, and then Pavalainen, obviously, that was so costly, that just moment that he had. But, I mean, it could have been worse. He could have
gone down the road.
Up with definitely nil points. But he's still in there. I mean, the group's close together. But you've got to start making some serious progress now if you want to get to it. Just because the amount of corners, the amount of overtaking spots, and the amount of bikes in front of you, head down.
Well, last but one time of going into dry sack. Are they going to be thinking about launching a bit of a dummy move? Well, Kawakami's thinking about going around the outside. He's opting for the longer line around the corner. But he's going to try and make it stick because he might have track position to the next turn. Either way, he's up into 3rd place. Then just in front of him is Uvinha and still the leader of Gmez. I tell you what, Gmez, if he does win this, he's absolutely deserved it. All of the riders have definitely deserved it, but he's just ridden so consistently at the front.
Done a lot of the work, Gmez, done a lot of the work at the front.
It'll be interesting to find out. Meanwhile, Gonzalez is up the inside of Kawakami for 3rd place. He's ahead. Into the right-hander we go. As Uvinha tried to bite off a bit more than he could chew. Had a bit of a sneaky look, a bit of a wheel up the inside, but it wasn't to be for him. Into turn 11 we go, then turn 12, the penultimate time of asking as we get ready to come and start the final lap of racing here at the Circuito de Jerez in the European Talent Cup. The bikes thunder past our commentary position here at the track. Here comes Kawakami. He's up the inside. Don't do anything too soon, lads, because there's still another lap left to go. Just under 4.5 kilometres remaining. Over the timing line we go. Who's going to lead the way? It's still Gmez at the moment. Is that lead going to change into the first corner? Uvinha's looking very racy indeed. So is Gonzalez. Here we go into the first turn. It's still going to be Gmez that holds the advantage. Uvinha in second. Kawakami now in 3rd place. Gonzalez has been shuffled out a bit as Carlos Tate is looking very racy in these stages. Uvinha's trying to find a way through. He's got a bit wide though in that corner. Is that going to allow a bit of a move for Kawakami? He runs it wide into turn number 3. Into turn 4. It's very much one at a time, but not for Carlos Tate as he tries to hold it around the outside of Kawakami. He's on the rumble strips going all over the shop. Will he manage to get himself onto the podium though? That's the important thing. It's now or never here in the European Talent Cup.
Yeah, definitely. I think Uvinha was got it back in line pretty quick there. Went a bit wide, managed to keep it all together. But I think he looks like he wants it. There's been a few moves where he really, yep, there you go.
Here we go into dry sack. Carlos ties up the inside of Gmez. Gmez is now shuffled down into third position as Uvinha leads the way, but gets it on the paint as he comes out of the corner. He's onto the curbs. Here comes Gmez back up the inside of Tate. Tate is now going to have Kawakami and Jesperson for company as well. It's anybody's guess as we come into the final sector of the lap. Who's going to win this race? At the moment, it's Uvinha with the advantage, but you can guarantee there'll be a good lunge into that final corner. It's going to be pride at stake if nothing else, and they're going to be trying to find a way through. This is getting so close and so tense here in the box. It's so difficult to call. Into the left-hander we go of turn 11. Wait for turn number 12. Gonzalez is getting shuffled out wide by Maikon Kawakami as well as we go into Ferrari. Here we go to the final corner. Gonzalez is out well wide. Into the final turn we are. Gmez is very deep on the brakes. Carlos ties up the inside, but he doesn't make it stick. Who's going to get the lead? It's going to be a drag to the line, surely. Gmez has got the advantage as we come to the timing line here at the European Talent Cup. Winning at the race window. Let's look to the timing screens. What on earth happened there as we come over the timing line? Well, it was a brilliant race. It was a brilliant effort, but Joan Uvinha takes the race victory. I apologise, let's have a look. I'm just having a look at the timing screens. Yes, Francisco Gmez takes the race victory ahead of Joan Uvinha. The timing screen took a while to update there, but there we are. Francisco Gmez and the team, well, they are going to be absolutely thrilled down at Team Last Sport. What a race. That
was so close, and great tactics from Uvinha. They didn't quite get it in the end, just to know what was coming, stand back and then head for the line.
Well, it's his second victory of the 2017 season. Of course, he took a win back in Valencia, and Francisco Gmez is on top of the world here at the Circuito de Jerez. What a race. Brilliant stuff. The crowd won't be too displeased with that. And of course, he'll be down there in Parc Ferme talking to Fran Wild in a few moments' time. Joan Uvinha as well, second place. He's pretty pleased with that. Not a bad result for the number 23. With Carlos Tate in his first ever weekend in the European Talent Cup, taking his first ever podium. What a great result. There we go. Francisco Gmez, you can tell what it means to him. So that's the all-Spanish podium. I think that's the first all-Spanish podium we've had today, come to think of it. Not the entirety of any of the racing, definitely in terms of the European Talent Cup. So brilliant stuff going on. There we go. All the riders now coming back down to pit lane. Some good stuff. Very unfortunate for Pietro Pervalainen, who unfortunately finished down in 6th place. There is Edouard Melgar, who had a bit of a difficult weekend, finished in 10th position in that one. It's not going to help his championship charge. But there is Carlos Tate. And there he is on the number 99. The Blue Mac HMA Honda team have done a great job of signing him up. It was a difficult berth into the championship with that first race, unfortunately, as he ended up going down the road into the side of his teammate, no less. But nonetheless, I think he's made amends for that after that podium. He'll be pretty pleased with a brilliant third position in his first ever weekend. And in fact, the Blue Mac HMA team doing a great job in terms of the European Talent Cup. And what a great race for Francisco Gmez. And he's going to be doing a bit of a burnout on the side of the track as well. You can tell it means quite a lot to him. Hopefully he doesn't have to, he's not doing the engine or the gearbox any harm. He's on top of the world, that man, isn't he? Let's have, we'll have a chat with him in Parc Ferme in a few moments' time. We can't wait for that. It's going to be the longest cooling down lap ever that's taken place at Jerez, I think. And popping a wheelie as well. Fantastic stuff. It's lovely when it means so much to these riders, of course. You can really see the emotion on their face and in their body language, quite understandably as well. And you can really see what a race victory like that means to somebody like Francisco Gmez. A brilliant way to continue his season. Just 2 rounds remaining, of course, of the FIM CEV Repsol. We're in Aragon in October, but more on that later on. Of course, we've got the finale in Valencia a week after MotoGP. Into the left-hander we go of the hairpin of the pit lane, and then we come in towards Parc Ferme. There's Joan Uvinha being congratulated for his brilliant second place finish. You can see on the right hand side Carlos Tate with his first ever podium in his first ever weekend in the European Talent Cup. And there is the Team Last Sport outfit of Francisco Gmez. What a race. Pulls himself off of the motorcycle and is congratulated by his team, by his family. Brilliant stuff. really great to see everybody doing so well. The team, look at that, they're ecstatic. They're obviously quite a small run team because we can only see a few members of them, and in comparison to the size of some of the outfits we have here in the FIM CEV Repsol, it certainly is evident, but it's fantastic stuff that's going on. And very excited to see how the continuation of the season will occur. You can see the celebration still taking place in Parc Fermé. Carlos Tate, very pleased with that first podium on the right-hand side, the Dunlop cap he's got. Stunning racing throughout the entirety. Very clean racing as well. Hardly a smatter of contact here and there, but a few bits of running wide. But nonetheless, this is how the final results stood at the end of the race. Francisco Gmez took the victory, his second of the season, ahead of Johan Uvinha and Carlos Tate. Maikon Kawakami in 4th place, Simon Jesperson in 5th, Pieter Perverleinen in 6th place with Manuel Gonzalez, Alejandro Diez and Miguel Parra completing the top 9 here in the European Talent Cup. Fantastic stuff here at Jerez. 8 out of 11 rounds completed for this European Talent Cup, and of course there will only be one champion, and that's going to be very interesting to see the final standings in terms of the title. Meanwhile, let's talk to the race winner of Francisco Gmez. He is down there with Fran Wild, or will be in just a few moments' time. We get him over to the interview area. There we go, and we'll have a chat then. So Fran Wild is with the race winner, Francisco Gmez.
Hey, incredible race there, an incredible... ¿En inglés no? Vale, increíble la carrera y in English first, vale? Incredible race, incredible final corner. How was that for you today?
Yes, has sido incredible race, epic race, and I am very happy. And thank you for my team, amigos, friends, and todo.
Y ahora en castellano.
Bueno, ha sido una carrera súper difícil, larga, cansada y bueno, dedicarlo a todo el que ha venido a verme, a mi equipo, todo, la moto perfecta y bueno, la próxima va a ser mejor.
Bueno, muchísimas gracias, enhorabuena.
Well, you can see what it meant to him. He was exhausted at the end of it as well. But here are the highlights from the race. It was Andreas Perez who started from pole position with Miguel Parra and Pieter Perverleinen alongside him. But the start of the century from the second row of the grid was Francisco Gmez as they went into turn number 1. A brilliant getaway from the Spanish rider. However, it wasn't all his own way because the likes of Perverleinen and Miguel Parra tried to change that running order. They all made it through the first couple of corners very cleanly indeed. Some stunning racing going on throughout the field. Meanwhile, unfortunately, Andreas Perez retired from the race with some technical issues, likewise his teammate as well, so the double DNF. There we can see Ike Garcia pulling off to the side of the track. A disappointing way to end what has otherwise been a brilliant day for the Reali Vigia Academy team. Meanwhile, out in front, Alejandro Diez hit the front, but it wasn't for long because this man here, of number 9 of Francisco Gmez, got his way back up the inside. Alejandro Diez had a bit of contact between those two riders. And nonetheless, that's Jack Hart who went down the road in the latter half of the race. It was a very climatic end to the European Talent Cup, especially as we saw Pieter Perverleinen trying to find his way up the inside of Gmez. Meanwhile, unfortunately, Alex Toledo, he failed to finish that one. Some problems for the Spanish rider, and it was business as usual out in front. Great racing going on, the entire pack all in and amongst the mix. Some brilliant racing here and there. Up the inside, meanwhile, went Carlos Tate. This was a great scrap as Johan Uvinha and Francisco Gmez were very close behind. This is the final lap of the race, of course, and Manuel Gonzalez, he went well wide as Carlos Tate tried to find his way into the lead. He found a gap on the inside, but ran it a little bit hot into the corner and was very lucky to not lose the front end. We go through the left-hand bend, ready to come over the timing line here in the European Talent Cup. And that was the race win by 0.07 of a second for Francisco Gmez, his second of the 2017 season. What a race, what a way to do it. And the Team Last Sport outfit, well, understandably, they were delighted. Uvinha was, of course, a brilliant second. Carlos Tate was third. The celebrations of the century go to Francisco Gmez as the top 3 in the race make their way onto the podium. And you can hear them chanting Francisco.
Don Santiago Galván, vicepresidente del Circuito de Velocidad de Jerez, va a hacer entrega del trofeo acreditativo como piloto vencedor al Team Last Sport a su representante, Esteban
We'll begin in a
Perez.
few
Fuerte el
moments' time
aplauso
as
para
the
él.
team's
Equipo
trophy is
vencedor,
presented to Team Lars
el
Sports.
Team Lars Sport.
The winners of that particular race.
De igual manera, el
Brilliant
señor Lincoln
stuff.
Pérez, miembro del CCR de la
Francisco
Federación
Gmez.
Internacional de
The third place man,
Motociclismo, hace lo
though, will be
propio con
presented
el
his
tercer
trophy in just a
clasificado,
couple of moments'
Carlos
time.
Tate.
Carlos
Fuerte el
Tate,
aplauso.
what a race. Brilliant stuff in his first ever weekend for the Blue Mac HMA racing outfit. Second place, though, goes the way of Johnny Viña, missing out on the victory by just 75 thousandths of a second. Fantastic stuff. What a race, what a weekend we've had from Wild.
Yeah, definitely incredible, and a very, very happy winner down there in Park Birmingham.
He was exhausted as well, wasn't he?
He was.
Más que currada, Francisco
So
Gómez.
I can imagine you are running backwards and forwards like you have been all day from commentary box to the podium. We're not in the race direction area or anything. We're in our own little hut
Y
somewhere else.
finalmente más regalos, más premios. Nuestra guapísima zapata se entrega de ese cheque de carburante
Well,
gratis.
the fuel check
Repsol
is presented
al
to
vencedor
Francisco
de la carrera de
Gmez.
hoy, Francisco Gómez.
What a great race it was for the Spaniard, and now we wait then
En su honor,
for the Spanish
precisamente,
national anthem to ring out
escuchamos
over
el
the
himno
Jerez
nacional de
circuit
España.
here in Andalusia.
Fuerte el aplauso para ellos. Podium
Great race for
con Carlos
Francisco
Tate, Joan
Gmez,
Viña y
the second
Francisco
place man of
Gómez.
Johnny Viña, and the third place
Venga esa
finisher
foto para el
of
recuerdo.
Carlos
Esa
Tate.
foto
A great race.
para que todo el
They'll
mundo
spray their
recuerde el
caseta
carrerón
in a
de
few
hoy aquí en
moments'
el
time.
Circuito de Velocidad de Jerez. La segunda carrera.
Before the photos take place,
de
of
la
course,
European
on the
Talent
podium.
Cup,
Lovely
que ha
stuff.
capitalizado no tan
So let's have a look at the championship standings then, shall we, in the European Talent Cup. Well, it's tight at the top as Manuel Gonzalez now leads away by just 17 points to Simon Jesperson, with Alex Toledo, Miguel Parra and Eduard Melgar trailing. Francisco Gomez in 6th, Andreas Perez in 7th, Michael Kawakami 8th and Alejandro Diez in 9th. Fran Wild, what a day's racing we've had.
Yeah, it's been an incredible day. Some more dramatic races than others, but definitely in a lot of shake-ups in the standings, especially in those tight midfields.
Fantastic. Describe it in 3 words.
Hot, classic, and thrilling.
I like it. Fantastic stuff here in the European Talent Cup. You can just see the podium finisher, Carlos Tate, getting himself on the board there into 18th position towards the tail end of the championship standings, and Adrian Fernandez, Stefano Christian, Beatriz Neela with 7 points on the board, doing well to recover from the injuries, Val Cañero, Colin Felthazen, and so on and so forth. So that then concludes a brilliant day's worth of racing here at the Circuito de Jerez. We thank you so much for your company over the course of today. My name's been Tom Brooks. Alongside me has been Fran Wild. Next up, as you can see at the bottom of your screen, we're at the Circuit of Aragon on the 8th of October. 1 Moto3, 2 Moto2 and 2 European Talent Cup races. We hope to see you there. Take care and we'll see you soon.